Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be yet another TikTok conspiracy theories video for you guys. If you know me, you know I'm like literally obsessed with TikTok. I mean, I feel like most people are, but it's low-key getting to the point where I feel like it could be bad. Like all I do is scroll on TikTok and there are so many conspiracy theories out there that I just find to be so damn interesting. So without further ado, let's get into the conspiracy theories. All right, the first theory that we're going to be talking about, I found to be super interesting. It's the concept that museums are fake.
My conspiracy theory is that museums are fake. I reckon the Mona Lisa ain't the real Mona Lisa. I reckon the real Mona Lisa is probably down in an archive underneath. I think it's too dangerous to have the real thing in the Louvre.
You reckon it's not
and
the
it's
original?
like, here lies Tutankhamun. I go, bullshit. As if someone's done paper mache on that mummy, and that's a fake mummy. That's not the real. You can't tell me that's the real Tutankhamun.
And it's paper mache.
Well, yeah.
I actually feel like this theory honestly makes so much sense, and it's kind of weird to me that I have never thought about it before. Like, this just has never crossed my mind, and I low-key think it could be true. After reading the comments on this TikTok, it actually seems like this is actually true for some museums, at least, where they display replicas of different artifacts like bones and such that are very fragile. The risk is just not worth the reward of having them be there for real. So it makes so much sense that they would just use replicas and have the actual artifact stored somewhere safe. A lot of people claim that the Mona Lisa is actually an example of this, and that the real Mona Lisa is somewhere securely locked away and not actually in the Louvre. So many people believe this to the point where they say it more matter-of-factly than a conspiracy. Like, they genuinely believe that the Mona Lisa is not the actual painting in the Louvre. However, the Louvre themselves insist that that painting that you see is the real Mona Lisa. It's been behind the bulletproof glass for all to see in the Louvre since 1804. I think this theory is super interesting, and it honestly makes like so much sense, especially like children's museums, like with dinosaurs and shit. Like, why would you want the actual artifacts there? I would feel like they would be so fragile. It's just not worth risking it. But let me know you guys' thoughts. I thought that theory was pretty interesting. Speaking of the Mona Lisa, there's a pretty popular theory going around on TikTok that the Mona Lisa was actually modeled after a man. Leonardo da Vinci had a longtime apprentice slash suspected lover named Salai. They knew each other for years, and a lot of people speculate that they had a romantic relationship, though it was never actually confirmed. I feel like when the gay suspicion is there, it's just there, you know what I mean? The main person who believes this theory is a man named Silvano Vincenti, who is the head of the National Committee for Cultural Heritage. Silvano Vincenti actually used infrared technology to find earlier draft layers hidden underneath the actual Mona Lisa. He compared these drafts with other paintings of Salai and found that they seemed pretty much identical. The features that stick out the most are definitely the nose, the forehead, and of course the smile. Salai was also said to wear feminine clothes pretty often, and he modeled for many of Da Vinci's paintings. So it actually kind of made sense for Da Vinci to paint Salai in a feminine manner like the Mona Lisa, because he had a lot of feminine qualities to him. I feel like the Mona Lisa's face and Salai's face are just so damn similar that I think that this theory could be true. I don't know if I 100% believe it, but I do think that it kind of makes a lot of sense. Okay, the next TikTok that I want to talk about really freaked me out, and it is all about Bunny the dog. So if you're on TikTok, you probably have seen the various TikToks of just different dogs that press those little buttons that say like small phrases. That has always creeped me out, which we're gonna get into. But Bunny the dog is probably the most popular dog on TikTok that has been posting the videos with the buttons. Jumpers, jump boys, y'all know I love them. They're gonna be in this video a lot because they always are when it comes to TikTok. Their theories are so fun, but they talked about the bunny theory and it freaked me out.
Dog, why? Did you just say, who this? And then look in the mirror? Who this? That's Bunny. That's Bunny.
I'm not really sure that I ever necessarily believed that the dogs actually knew what they meant when they're pressing the buttons. And I'm still not fully convinced because, like, obviously dogs don't speak English, but they know commands and they learn them. So if they press a button that says treat and every time that they press it, they get a treat, then eventually they're gonna, like, figure it out, if that makes sense. Whether or not I think that they understand the more complex sentences that they're saying in these TikToks is questionable to me. But I tend to do that when different concepts really freak me out, if I just write it off as a coincidence or fake, just so that I can get it out of sight, out of mind. But however, when I saw this TikTok, I was unable to do that anymore. Something about seeing Bunny press buttons, who this, and looking in the mirror is just so freaking eerie. Bunny ended up becoming so aware of her own consciousness that it started to get people wondering if Bunny is a human who was reincarnated. The concept of reincarnation is nothing new here. We have done so many different videos about different kids who remember their past lives because that's the typical, like, outcome of them. I've never really thought too hard about the fact that we could reincarnate as animals, and I don't like thinking about it because it kind of freaks me out. Do you think that it's possible that when we die, we reincarnate as our, maybe even our loved ones who we had here on Earth's future pets? I don't know. It freaks me out, but I do think that it's interesting. Like I said, something about Bunny just staring at her reflection like that for so long just makes me feel really uncomfortably eerie, and I don't know, it's just weird. Something about that is weird. There's just no way around it. Let me know your thoughts. I feel like it's giving me an existential crisis a bit. Or do dogs low-key just understand more than we think they do? There's definitely something weird going on. All right, the next TikTok that we're going to be talking about is the end of the world theory. People have been recently convinced that the end of the world is near. A lot of people think this because Mark Zuckerberg just spent $100 million on an underground bunker in Hawaii. This bunker is like really crazy. It's gonna have its own energy source, food, water, and everyone working on the project, from like the contractors to the painters, have to sign an NDA. And many people believe that after the news about Mark Zuckerberg's little purchase, that the end of the world is coming and he maybe knows something that we don't. Many people have been talking about this theory like coinciding with this new Netflix movie that was actually produced by the Obamas called Leave the World Behind, which essentially is about the world ending. A lot of people who've watched the film claim that this could be something that could actually happen in real life. And people argue that obviously if anyone had insight into how the world's going to end, it makes sense for it to be someone of such high power like the former president, Barack Obama. I have seen so many theories all over TikTok about this movie, and honestly, they all kind of creep me out. I don't like to think about the end of the world, but I do actually kind of feel like that could be in our lifetime. I've been saying this for a while. It freaks me out and scares me, but I don't necessarily think that this movie is a warning sign. And there's a few reasons for that. So Barack Obama wanted to be a part of this movie because he loved the book so much. The original book, Leave the World Behind by Ruman Alam, was a book that Obama read and loved. So he wanted to be a part of the movie producing, which I don't think is like that strange. But I will say that the director, Sam Esmail, said something that was kind of interesting. He said, quote, "In the original drafts of the script, I definitely pushed things a lot further than they were in the film, and President Obama, having the experience he does have, was able to ground me a bit how things might actually unfold in reality." That's kind of scary to think that, like, not necessarily saying like Obama thinks that this is going to happen, but like the fact that he thinks it's even possible is like really kind of freaking me out. And a lot of people believe that the combination of this movie and the fact that the like Mark Zuckerberg's sudden urge to spend hundreds of $millions on an underground bunker that he'll theoretically never use has come into light, that people believe the end of the world is near and the elite know about it. Terrifying. Just a terrifying concept overall. I won't lie. I really hate that. Mark Zuckerberg kind of freaks me out, and our next series about him as well. There's a viral video all over TikTok of Mark Zuckerberg saying, "When I was human."
Bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still. But I was just referring to myself in the past. Not that I was not human.
This definitely got a lot of conspiracy theorists thinking, what the hell does he mean by that? Like, he corrects himself, obviously. A lot of people think Mark Zuckerberg is a part of this Illuminati and that the elites have found a way to live forever. Whether that is becoming AI generated, like robots, replacing their human organs for like ones that are made in a factory somewhere that can live forever. I just think that with the technology that we have, it's not that crazy of a concept for them to have figured out how we could live forever potentially. And I guess if you live forever, you're not really technically qualified as a human anymore because that's making you immortal. So people think that that's what Mark Zuckerberg meant by that. I don't know. I do think obviously if we did have that technology, the first people who would be in line to be able to get the ability to live forever would be the billionaires and the Hollywood elite. Some people think that maybe he's referring to being like a lizard person. I've always thought that theory was weird, the whole reptile thing. I never really believed it, but I do think that something about it is interesting, and it kind of just says a lot about how like society like and billionaires see the rest of us. I feel like it's like a Freudian slip kind of thing where he sees himself as like above other humans. So like when he says like when I was human, he's kind of like referring to before he was famous and rich, like when I was like a normal person. Like I think that's kind of what he was saying, which is still like kind of fucked up. I do think that like you definitely lose like a part of your soul becoming as famous as he is and elite and having all of that money. Like there is something about it that's kind of dark, because if anyone knows the world's secrets, it's obviously the most powerful people. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that he's in the Illuminati? Do you think that he's an AI robot? I want to hear your theories because I don't know. All right, the next TikTok I want to talk about is the Mandela effect theory. If you guys know me and you guys have been here for a minute, you know that we've been talking about the Mandela effect for the past like 8 years. Now, we really rarely talk about why I think the Mandela effect exists or what it really is all in all. And that's mostly because I don't freaking know. Like, I'm like, you know, it's just here and I believe it, but I don't know what the hell it is. Well, this theory on TikTok was popping off and you guys have been tagging me in it nonstop. Just listen.
I have a theory that the Mandela effect is used to see how much of history can be altered in front of our eyes. Here's a prime example of one of that. There's this woman on TikTok who was going crazy because she swore the Fruit of the Loom had a cornucopia logo. And to the point that even Fruit of the Loom themselves put a timeline of all their logos and it never had a cornucopia. And this woman went hard, went through all of her old clothing, and lo and behold, she found a shirt with the Fruit of the Loom with the cornucopia logo on it. That shows me like, yo, I think the Mandela effect is an operation that's running around right now to see how much of history can be altered right in front of our eyes without us noticing. And then they gaslight the public and be like, nope, this never happened.
Damn, I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, bro, people are thinking about it very little, like, oh, it's the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstein Bears or Jiffy or Jif's peanut butter. No, it's much larger than that, guys. They're using this to see, oh, if we can get people to forget certain primary things about their childhood, what can we do with history?
I think that this concept is actually super interesting, that like the Mandela effect is some sort of social experiment rather than some parallel universe or butterfly effect, which are some of the other thoughts and theories that we've talked about regarding the Mandela effect. Do you guys believe this theory? It kind of freaks me out to think what people could get away with changing, because like theoretically the internet is forever, but like there's people who are in charge of what's on it and what's not. So like they can actually change things. The thing I will say is that if this theory were true, I do think that there would be more residue than we think. People who owned a Berenstain Bears book when they were a kid and they still own it to this day. I swear it used to say Berenstein, but now the actual book itself says Berenstain. Like, how would they change that? You know what I mean? It's not like they're breaking into everyone's houses and replacing all of their stuff with like the new Mandela affected stuff. That's one thing I think doesn't make too much sense about this theory. I do feel like there is no rhyme or reason with the Mandela effect. It's just like a phenomenon that does not make sense, and perhaps it never will. I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, because obviously, you guys know I love the Mandela effect, so I definitely found it to be interesting, but I'm not really sure exactly what it means. All right, the next theory that I want to talk about is the breakfast theory. So Jumpers Jump Boys posted a TikTok about this that I think makes so much sense. Basically, the theory that breakfast is actually not the most important meal of the day, and instead used to actually be skipped by a lot of people in the 19th century. It was really never that big of a deal overall, but once breakfast began being popularized, it started with like farm food, because that's just what people were doing. They needed some protein when they woke up because they were, you know, doing heavy lifting job. It made sense for eggs to be used for breakfast because chickens laid eggs in the morning, but it didn't make sense to like kill a chicken for breakfast for some reason, because apparently no one would kill a chicken in the morning. I don't know why. But what did make sense apparently was using cured meat from a pig that was slaughtered previously. That is where the concept of like eggs and bacon for breakfast kind of began. Things got a little bit different when the workforce kind of had more people doing office-y type jobs and people weren't really doing any heavy lifting like labor-y jobs anymore. So they felt like they could deal with something lighter for breakfast and that they didn't need the whole bacon and eggs. So around this time was when cereal was created and popularized. So since cereal was popping off, low-key the meat industry was struggling, which made a man named Edward Bernays, who was known to be the grandfather of propaganda, basically get a doctor to agree that a protein-rich heavy breakfast of bacon and eggs was much healthier than a light breakfast like cereal. That is where the idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day has like really come into fruition, because it brought eggs and bacon back into fashion and also added weight to the idea that breakfast was this super important way to start your day, when medically that's not actually really necessarily true. But ultimately it worked in their favor because it ended up keeping the meat industry up and running. The next part of this theory I think makes so much sense to go hand in hand with this, which is the milk theory. I'm just gonna play it.
Do you remember the Got Milk ads? You remember that shit?
Yeah.
That was everywhere in the 90s, 2000s, right? Every celebrity had like the Got Milk, whatever. Have you ever wondered why the fuck was milk advertised that much?
Got milk? I actually don't know why.
Everywhere in school, right? Remember the milk lady?
Yeah.
They had the
we
milk.
had milk days.
The milk days, exactly.
Chocolate milk days. Oh, those are
Yeah.
good days.
Would you say that's like almost the only food product that was ever advertised, almost like a PSA, is milk? Why is that? Did you know the government pushed for the milk industry to be advertised and right in our faces to make us drink more milk?
Why?
Back in World War II, they needed something for the soldiers to survive on, right?
Yeah.
So they resorted to powdered milk and milk products for easy protein to survive, right? After the war, because there was a huge demand of milk, they had all of these like milk industries, milk factories, milk farms, right? After the war, demand died, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's drinking milk like that because they didn't need it. But the rich people already invested millions, supposedly billions of dollars into the milk industry.
Facts.
In order to keep that whole industry alive, they literally paid the government to advertise milk everywhere and make it seem as if milk is very healthy for us.
I just swear that drinking milk was so pushed on us as children, like needed this calcium to make our bones strong and XYZ, when really that's like literally not the case. Like you talk to any doctor, any dietitian, they will tell you you don't actually need milk in your diet. Like it's not that necessary to like get like that kind of calcium. I feel like I remember being so scared of osteoporosis as a kid and like fucking chugging milk. Like it was a whole thing. Not only that, but they were really catering it to us at school. The freaking Got Milk ads everywhere with all of our favorite celebrities that we watched on TV. I just think that that's not a coincidence, obviously. Putting up all of these posters all over school, but it being propaganda to actually sell milk so that the milk industry doesn't die makes so much sense. Like, I just feel like this is so true, because where did all that propaganda go? Like, it just disappeared into the void when freaking almond milk and oat milk became popular. Like, I just feel like we don't see those ads that much anymore, and I think it's a very interesting concept overall. Propaganda is something that really freaks me out and really interests me, because I just think it's so entertaining to look at that as a theory, in the sense of how many things are we told because it's benefiting someone else in a different industry somewhere else. And I think that the answer is probably kind of often. It kind of goes hand in hand with like the medical industry and like whether or not we actually need medications and XYZ. Like, I think of course some certain things are necessary, but maybe they overhype how necessary things are because it benefits them, and that's kind of scary. I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with like the whole concept that fast food is like pushed, especially in America, to keep the medical industry running and keep people being unhealthy. I think it all ties together, and I think it's really dark and very interesting. The next TikTok I want to talk about, I saw on the Unfiltered podcast TikTok, and it's this theory about dating apps that I actually found to be pretty interesting. So the basic concept of the theory is people will set up dates with people at like a restaurant or a bar, and one person will show up, and then the person who they were supposed to meet up just suddenly ghosts them, unmatches them, yet the person who got stood up ends up still like ordering a drink or getting food because they're already there. It's the concept that restaurants are doing this on purpose, and I think that that is such an interesting theory. It makes kind of a lot of sense, especially for like new restaurants that are up and coming. They need their customers in there. I think that that's like a really interesting like route to get more customers and more business. I kind of think it could be true, but I don't know. I think that it would be seriously messed up, but do you believe it? All right, the next theory that I want to talk about is the holidays being the 7 deadly sins. I saw a few TikToks about how the reason that we celebrate different holidays is because we are catering to the 7 deadly sins. For example, lust is Valentine's Day, gluttony is Thanksgiving, greed is Christmas, envy is Easter because the Romans were jealous of Jesus, so that's why they murdered him, and Easter is obviously about him rising again. Sloth is St. Patrick's Day because everyone gets hammered and then is sleepy the next day, and wrath/anger is Halloween, and pride is the 4th of July. I do think that this theory like kind of adds up, but I also do believe that you can put the 7 deadly sins in pretty much anything that ever existed, which is kind of creepy in a way if you think about it. Like I remember there being like a whole theory about SpongeBob relating to the 7 deadly sins. Pretty sure Winnie the Pooh characters, like literally everything that's pretty much ever existed can be seen in this light, and I do find that to be very interesting, and I don't know exactly why that is. Like, why does that exist? A lot of people think that it's like Satanists or conspiracy theorists trying to get us to have like the devil within us. I don't freaking know if I would go that far, but I do think that it's a pretty interesting concept, and I would be kind of interested to hear your thoughts on it, so let me know. The next theory that I want to talk about is about Drake and XXXTentacion. There's a pretty popular theory that Drake actually murdered X. I had never really heard of this before. I very much still see Drake as like Jimmy from Degrassi. Like, I'm just like, he's just Jimmy. Like, you know what I mean? But this theory actually makes a lot of sense. Apparently Drake and X had a pretty public feud about stealing each other's flows, just basically a lot of different public call-outs. And Drake was actually subpoenaed to provide a deposition in the trial of like the murder of X, because apparently in 2018 X posted on his Instagram story saying, quote, "If anybody kills me, it's Drake." But then he went back and said that he was actually just hacked. But conspiracy theorists didn't believe that that was true, and they believed that Drake had threatened X. There's honestly a lot of reasons why people think that Drake had something to do with X's death, and it wasn't just the fact that they publicly feuded or this story. It's more within Drake's song lyrics that are kind of shocking. So these songs were released after X's death, and for example, in the song I'm Upset, Drake says SMS XXX. That's the only time I shoot below the neck. So SMS apparently stands for Send My Shooters, and obviously XXX is X, and apparently X was shot below the neck. X also had a song called Moonlight, while Drake came out with a song called Daylight, and in the song he says shot him in the daylight, which X was shot in the middle of the day. In Drake's song On BS, he says, quote, "If he held his tongue on that live, he'd be alive." X famously dissed Drake and Drake's mother on an Instagram live prior to his death, obviously.
Just drop a diss on Drake and end his career. Bruh, nobody's gonna openly disrespect the fuck out of me and disrespect my craft when I'm 19 years old. That motherfucker, what is you, like 60? Like, you think I'm gonna let you take my shit and not say nothing? You can suck my dick.
And I feel like that's like kind of weird that he would say that. Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't necessarily think Drake is a killer. Again, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on this, and if you think that that's true, let me know. Obviously, people don't think that Drake himself like actually murdered him, but a lot of people do think that Drake like set it up in a way and maybe paid someone to kill X. And I don't know, like, I guess it's a possibility. Anything is possible. I don't know. It's just a theory, so let me know you guys' thoughts on it. I will say the song lyrics adding up so much is kind of weird, and the fact that they were publicly feuding as well, it all just adds up a little too well, if you ask me. All right, the last theory that we're going to be talking about is another Jumpers Jump theory, and it is about LeBron James.
There's a crazy LeBron James numerology theory. LeBron James, everyone knows he just broke Kareem's scoring record.
Yeah.
Kareem held that record for 38 years. How old is LeBron?
Almost 38.
How many points did LeBron score on the game that he broke the record?
No way.
38. The day that he broke the record.
38? There's no 38 date.
No, listen. February 7, 2023. This is the 38th day of the year.
Yo, what the fuck?
It doesn't stop there, man. Listen. It brought his scoring record, his total points right now, 38,388.
No, let me see that. Wait, what?
38.
What the fuck?
Now, this is the crazy. This is the topper. Kareem set the record April 5th, 1984. 38 weeks later, LeBron James was born.
So in my opinion, there's just a lot of coincidences here that seem way too strange. A lot of people believe that this has to do with numerology, which is the belief of a mystical relationship between a number and one or more coinciding events. So I do think that that could be the case, but I also think that like coincidences as a whole have like a way deeper meaning than what we may think at first. In my opinion, I actually think that the coincidences could be more of the universe kind of like signifying that you're in the right place at the right time and things are aligning correctly for you. I do think that like a lot of these coincidences are all part of a bigger plan. When things start fitting together like perfect puzzle pieces that we call coincidences, I think that it's just the universe telling us like you're on the right path. It's just them acknowledging that you're doing the right thing and everything is working how it's supposed to. I would like to hear what your guys' thoughts are on coincidences like this, because I just don't know what else it would be besides like something beautiful and mystical. That's how I like to end off this video, is like on a positive note, but I don't know. What do you guys think? But that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of these TikToks. If you have any TikTok theories, tag me in them, please. But anyway, that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week, and I will see you guys later. Bye.